Hello there, and welcome to another ClueCon Weekly. We're delighted to have in the ClueCon podcast studio, Aryn. Aryn, I'm going to ask you to pronounce your last name in case I make a complete mess of it. What's your full name, please?
Full name is Aryn Nakaoka.
Excellent. And Aryn, where are you joining us from today?
I'm currently on Oahu in Honolulu, Hawaii.
Wonderful. And it looks so amazing in the background there. Looking really good. And we were just discussing the weather before we started recording, and we believe that you're not going to get rained on during this CCW recording.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah, for now.
Good. Aryn, thank you very much for joining us. I know your company, is your company, are you TriNet or are you Aloha?
So TriNet Solutions is the parent company of Aloha Tone. We're also partners in some other IT firms. So we run everything through TriNet, but our voice over IP and the arm that uses FreeSwitch is Aloha Tone.
Great. Okay. Well, we'll come on to that before too long. But Aryn, for those folk that might never have met you before, I wonder if you could give us a little bit of background about how you found your way into telecoms and VoIP. I know you've been involved in VoIP for a good long time. So if you could just take us on that journey a bit before we talk about the solutions that you've been basing on FreeSwitch more recently, please.
Yeah. So my father started Progressive Communications, which is a interconnect. So he used to be an Avaya dealer, NEC dealer. Pretty much we went through all the hardware, like even the Mitels, right? We were a Mitel dealer for a while. He started it when I was, I want to say 5 or 6 years old. We then became a 3Com dealer, and voice over IP had just started coming out, and we can make the argument whether it's voice over IP or voice over layer 2, right? But when 3Com came out, I had just graduated college. So I came home to help with the family business and run the 3Com business. We had become probably the third largest 3Com dealer in the nation, right under Cincinnati Bell. So we used to go to the 3Com conferences and meet Bob Metcalf and whatnot. So over time, we knew that the 3Coms had issues, right? There were some things that they were a little ahead of their time. So ideally, there were some things that we wanted hardware changes done and just didn't happen. So I branched out into the internet service provider world because a lot of our 3Com customers needed better connectivity, right? They needed to have T1s, they needed private connectivity for the 3Coms. So I started TriNet Solutions, which is our ISP managed service provider side. And then in 2001, I got introduced to Asterix, right? And so from there, we tried to provide PRIs to our Toshibas because we were still running our Progressive Communications side and selling phone systems.
Right.
So we wanted to be the dial tone provider because in the end, that's where the money's at, right? So everyone knows that no sense service the hardware if you're not the service provider itself. So we wanted to be the PRI provider. There are some issues there, right? Some scalability issues and on-site hardware issues. So we migrated to a model where we were using Freepbx per customer and just deploying handsets on site.
Right.
So from there, we then built infrastructure of a team to support the handsets, to support the end users. And then when Freepbx did a model change, we've always been watching FreeSwitch, right? But there were some features that we needed, like voicemail, IVRs weren't 100%, especially the front end for our support techs. And then so we eventually then migrated into Fusion and FreeSwitch to provide our customers with their services. So yeah, we've been doing this. I mean, I've personally been doing this for 20 plus years in telecom. From, I'm Avaya certified to 3Com certified to, we never got Asterix certified, but, we did a lot of Asterix, and now we're we
Right.
moved into FreeSwitch and Fusion.
Oh, great stuff. And so is Fusion the basis of the Aloha Tone offering?
Yes, well, Fusion is the basis for the Aloha Tone offering for customers and what customers see. But we use native FreeSwitch for our main brain. Let's just say our call routing center, where we interact with all the carriers. We protect the customer's PBX with FreeSwitch in essence.
Right, I'm with you. Okay, so you've got that kind of back end. And what was it that you briefly mentioned it, but what was it that drove the change really from Freepbx over to FreeSwitch and then Fusion?
So our model is to dedicate a server, although it's virtualized, right? We dedicate a server per client, and our dedicated server provider didn't allow us to install an ISO. So when Freepbx went into the ISO model, we couldn't continue, which was a blessing in disguise because we're much happier with the security and the feasibility, just the scalability of FreeSwitch. But even before they moved into the ISO model, we were using FreeSwitch as our cores. So our cores, again, deal with the origination, they deal with the termination, and then we were using Freepbx. So I actually gave a presentation at AstraCon of our model and gave our model out to show, this is how you should build your TISP. We even did the business model of what you should charge, how much you're going to get charged, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, once they went to an ISO model, we couldn't follow just because our virtualized provider couldn't let us or wouldn't let us install ISOs.
Right.
Which we agree with because from the scalability and stability part, we can't argue with anything they're doing. Right.
Yeah. Okay. And now one of the things that will have changed then is when you were running with Freepbx on effectively a VPS, a virtual private server model per customer, you've now come over to Fusion. But of course, Fusion has an amazing reputation for being a great multi-tenant GUI-driven implementation based on FreeSwitch. So are you taking advantage of the multi-tenant nature of it, or are you deploying a Fusion per customer?
So we are still deploying a Fusion per customer only because, again, I've been in this business for 20 plus years. So if you look at the history of it, going forward, I don't want to have to retroly go back and deal with, like, for example, some polycoms can't move forward because they don't support SRTP. There's just a multitude of reasons why I don't want a multi-tenant, as well as it leaves one attack vector. It leaves one attack vector, and even in a failure. And I understand we can, we could do like a kazoo or we could do a multi-server issue. But to simplify things, I'm a very simple guy. One PBX per one customer lets us have security, lets us have call recording. The other, because we also do call recording. If we were to put load, we're running several thousand handsets. If we were to put that much load on a multitude of servers, not exactly what I want to do. For the University of Hawaii bid, we would, of course. And maybe not. Maybe we'll just do every department as our current model. But to be honest, the current model allows us to go forward quickly and not have to worry about older customers and older gear and bringing it along, right? And if you look at the VPS providers now, the VPS provider we use now literally can migrate live voice traffic to a new server when they detect an issue. So we sleep very well now. We used to use OpenTVM. Yeah, we used to use OpenTVM and lose sleep about just someone knocking the servers or bumping the servers.
So, Aryn, can you just explain a bit about that? Because that's amazing. What are you having to do? Are you having to snapshot the working PBX and then roll across to that in the event of an issue, or how does that switch over work with live voice traffic?
To be honest, we don't do it. our VPS provider is doing the migrations, and what they're doing is they're just live copying the server in the background, and then they live copy the RTP stream, and then when the new one is ready, they cut over and kill the old one. So
right. So they're taking it from the one that's actually currently running with the voice.
right.
So how? But if it's currently running with the voice, how do they know that it has a problem if it's kind of doing the job?
So a lot of times, if there's I/O problems, if we have what we call a noisy neighbor, or someone's just taking up too much CPU, they'll move us off.
Right.
We've been with them so long, and we have so many accounts with them that they're a great company to be partnered with. As you know, latency matters, like just this call and my Wi-Fi not being perfect.
Sure.
But they'll actually change BGP routes for us.
Right.
So a lot of times, not to point at any carrier, but a lot of times level 3 is an issue, and we can actually ask them to null level 3, and they will, and our traffic from Hawaii goes a different route, and voice is back. So being able to have someone that powerful as our partner is key.
Yes, that sounds very strategic indeed for you to have, contacts at that level with your hosting provider. Oh, great. Well, thank you for showing this kind of very practical information for people. I'm sure they're going to find it very useful. Now, just thinking about the Aloha Tone contact center, I know that has been very, very helpful to people as they've had to move to remote working. Can you tell us a bit about how you facilitated that?
So during our, I want to say it was our March or April lockdown in Hawaii, we were, it was a full lockdown, right? It wasn't safer at home. It was stay home. Our biggest television station, which is KHON, wanted to do a telethon to raise money for feeding our elderly, our kapuna.
Right.
So because they would usually use their current PBX in their office, and they would just put people in a room and do dialing or incoming calls from there. They can't do that because of COVID, and everyone was locked down. So what we did was we used Fusion and FreeSwitch and used the remote call center feature where we had people's cell phone in queues. And this was I want to say it was from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. And there was shifts. So we automated because my team and I didn't want to be up from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. Although I was watching it just to watch it. But we had shifts, so we had 10 people in each shift, and automatically the PBX would just fail over to the next group, move to the next group, right? And as they would get phone calls, we had them push one just because of voicemail, and we're dealing with cell phone. You never know if you're going to get the cell phone or not. So we had all the agents verify that they got the call. They would push the button. They would take the call, take the donation, and I think we raised like $50,000 or $46,000, something like that. Great stuff.
Because in this particular set of circumstances, the elderly need all of that help, don't they? They need the vulnerable people need protecting and looking after.
Yep.
Great stuff. And that was based on your contact center. What other functionality does Aloha Tone provide?
So, being that we're a traditional telecom company, we need to provide faxing. So we provide a web portal for our customers to get and send faxes, which is unique. We do the HD calling. We do encrypted calls, right? We do mobile and desktop clients. So we use a soft phone. We use Acrobits for our mobile client, and we use Bria for our desktop client until Acrobits comes out with their desktop client. We also do voicemail transcription. So because we can code in FreeSwitch, our guys edited the Lua script. It emails the voicemail transcription to Google. Google transcribes it, sends it back to us, and we email it to the customer. So, there's a lot of features that, the bigger companies without as much local service to match. So we also do.
Like you've done a lot.
Sorry, go ahead.
Right, it sounds like you've done a huge amount of integration work there to get that kind of transcription model working. But do carry on, Aryn, please.
No, so we also are one of the few companies in Hawaii that are doing texting, because that's where the world is moving. So we allow two-way texting with all of our business numbers, right? So a lot of customers can get business through the new way of communication.
Right, and when you say, are we talking about text broadcast, or are you just talking about one-to-one texting?
No, so we're talking about one-to-one texting. We're talking about customers. It's amazing on how many customers text your number, and if you don't have it enabled, you don't get it. And what's worse is they don't know you don't get it. So when I enabled it for my DID, I was very surprised to see how many of my IT customers were texting me, even though I didn't tell them to text me, because that's not my cell phone, right?
Right, they were texting you on a landline number.
Correct. They were texting what they thought maybe was my cell phone, because I always answer it, even though that just rings to my soft phone.
Right.
But they thought it was a cell phone, and they were texting it. And when we finally enabled it, like 2 or 3 years ago, I was getting it, and now I'm able to reply, right? So I can do a two-way conversation, and they don't know it's my business number. They think it's a cell phone.
Right. Okay. I'd like to come on to that in a moment and ask about the technology behind it. But in the UK, when that happens, because my mother-in-law used to text my landline number, and what happened was BT, the incumbent provider, would take it and they'd use a text-to-speech engine. So I'd get an automated phone call saying, "You have received a text from this number," and it was always my mother-in-law's number, and then it would kind of read out the text to me. And so you're now able to actually do fully two-way texting from your VoIP phone.
Yeah, well, we actually use a Slack integration, and it allows our clients to be able to have a channel per person texting with us, and their team can answer. So like for our support line, our team can see what was said, which is very important, right? If someone's going to take over a ticket, they want to know what was promised or what the issue was. Like going back to the notifications, my dad is the only one that texts not only one, but he's one of the person that texts my business number.
Right.
On T-Mobile, the problem is on T-Mobile, in the US, on T-Mobile, they don't tell you that the text message didn't go through. AT&T will tell you that this message didn't go through. And now that there's no more Sprint, because Sprint used to do what the text-to-speech. But a lot of customers don't know that they're not getting through to you, and you don't know that you're not getting the text. So it's a bad situation.
Yeah, the difficulty. So you've mentioned Slack integration there, so as one possible channel. Where are you finding things are heading in that sort of multi-mode way, where customers want to communicate with their suppliers or the companies that they deal with in something that's just outside of voice and standard text message?
Well, I think a lot of customers that are public facing, especially, are finding it very useful. We had one roofing company that the problem becomes that we're getting a lot of spam over text now still. But she actually made a couple sales via text because she's dealing with the public, right? The business to business side, they're still mostly on email, fax, right? Sadly.
Right.
But the consumer side, the consumers are loving it, and because they just want to send a quick question and they don't want to spend the time on the phone or do the niceties of "Hi, how are you? Thank you." They can simply send a text message and get an answer. So,
okay, and are you finding WebRTC is sort of rearing its head in that area for you at the moment?
so we years ago, I think it was when Astracon was in Arizona, I had bought a WebRTC soft phone to donate to the troops overseas so that they could just go to a website and make some phone calls. I think a lot of users, the problem with WebRTC, other than the mobile apps themselves, a lot of users, their computers aren't ready for it. Right? They may not have a mic,
Right.
not enough CPU power. So we haven't really gone into WebRTC too much. And I think it's just a Polycom on their desk. That, and we focus on quality, right? So I don't want to have to do, well, I focus on two things: quality and tech support. So I don't want to increase my tech support by having to support their desktop, and I don't want to have my quality go down because their desktop is not up to par, right? So giving them a Polycom phone on their desk that's running our G7, G722 codec is ideal.
Right. So you've got good high quality audio. What about the pull from customers wanting to communicate via WhatsApp or Messenger or things like that? Is that something that's popping up in your world?
Right now, no. No one's asked to integrate into a chat WhatsApp. If they have, they're doing it from their website, with some kind of website chatter. We helped one company called En Route Hawaii, and they live and die off text messaging. And what they do is they run errands for people because of COVID, and they started because of COVID. It was actually a marketing firm that they turned it into a delivery firm. But they use their text messaging to, and I think the thing about text messaging is everyone has it, right? It's on your phone by default. There's no app to install. There's no information. Yes, it's not the most private, but if you're talking about go get me some oranges, then how private does that really need to be, right?
Yeah, indeed. And also, of course, it's ubiquitous amongst the older people that wouldn't countenance having a smartphone, might have some small cell phone, and they can do a little bit of texting with it. I know that's something that I've found in local markets in the UK, that you can, old people that push away technology will have a small cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, so we, because of COVID, and Hawaii is having a, to be politically correct, we're having a challenge with our contact tracing, right? So we made our contact tracing app, and I did it based on several things. One, not many people like to download an app because they think they're going to be traced 24/7, which, this is America. They don't like to do that, right? And two, we wanted it to be based on people without a smartphone. So using text messaging, and in the back end, we're using some PHP, but basically if you text message a number, we log you in a database. And if there's a COVID case, we'll text message you not only that there was a COVID case, we'll text message what day you went, what day the infected person went, and what to do next. So hopefully we can help get more notifications out there, and people can act like they have COVID, and we can get rid of this and get back to work.
I think everybody would like to get back to normal, and that'd be great. But in the meantime, you talked about the telethon. How about your just regular business customers that have now found that they have to have staff working from home? How have you been able to facilitate things for them?
So, because of when we were running Freepbx, the fail-to-ban doesn't work as well as FreeSwitch. So just because of the way the logs look, right? Because of FreeSwitch, we are able to either A, run fail-to-ban, which we do, and B, we're able to say your IP has to be geolocated. So you have to come from the Hawaii IPs, and then our customers can take their Polycom anywhere they want. So even for our mobile clients who are running, let's say we have we have older clients running Freepbx on our network that want a soft phone. We actually run a Fusion gateway that protects our IP, like the IP space, and allows them to talk to their Asterix box. Because upgrading them to Asterix may or may not be worth one or two soft phones. So when they work from home, for Asterix customers, we either have to lock down their IP because we're very security based, or we have to run them through a soft phone. What we're finding is a lot of customers' homes are not ready. They're not like you and me, where they're wiring Cat5 to their office, right? And Polycoms don't work. They can work Wi-Fi, but we never recommend it. But a lot of customers are getting soft phones because they're working from home, right? They're getting desk phone. if they take their desk phone home, they have to figure out a way to wire it. So
yeah, and they probably haven't got power over Ethernet.
well, actually, that was one of our biggest scares, is that when the first lockdown happened, we didn't have several thousand power supplies on hand. So we were just offering free. We were just saying, like, look, move to a soft phone. And I was trying to get Bria to give 3 months free during the lockdown. I was like, look, give it as a sample. But I guess their cost is too high or whatnot. So that's another reason why we are now on Acrobits, because we give a free soft phone for every Polycom, or vice versa. But basically, we're getting ready for the new world of, I have a desk and I need to be mobile. So give me both. And we don't charge more for that.
Right. I'm sure that's very, very valued by your customers. We're coming towards an end of our time together, Aryn. What advice would you give to people that are wanting to use Freepbx and Fusion for a hosted offering as you do? Any lessons that you've learned along the way, or anything that if you knew it before you started, you might have done things just a little bit differently?
Number one lesson is make sure you know your carrier. I mean, make sure you know everyone and every path. We were lucky to start with I think they're the largest ILEC, or the largest ILEC in the world, without naming names. And we were always warned by larger guys. So, like, until you hit 1 million minutes, you're not talked to by a lot of people. We were warned by the larger guys that, look, yeah, they might be good now, but when there's trouble, you can't talk to anyone. And that is totally true. So we have since moved to a second largest carrier, but they're still huge, and their service is night and day, right? We started off at a service provider that got hacked, got DDoSed while our servers were there, and literally watched it. It was Phantom Lore or something, that guy that was getting DDoSed, and we were at the same carrier. So when we moved, the network is so much better and so much more important, right? So, you got to know every step along the way, especially if you're going to go into this virtualized world, right? You have to know what path they take, what controls they have, what hardware they run, how they migrate you, if they can migrate you. So yeah, if you're going to play this game, you just have to know everything, every step of the way.
Good advice. Good advice. And as we close, is there anything else that you would like to say to those watching, Aryn?
Yeah, no, I mean, if we can help you, let us know. We're always down for some fun projects, like the COVID tracking project we're doing. We can do phone systems anywhere in the world. So, let us know and we can help you. We're huge Fusion fans and free switch fans. So we can always create our cores anywhere. I know we have customers from Florida to Alaska to Hawaii. So if we can help, let us know.
Not just the lower 48 then.
Yeah, not just.
That's excellent. Well, thank you very much for joining with us, Aryn. We really appreciate it. We can see that you're a community man and a community organization through and through, and that's always appreciated. And I know that Mark and Len are always interested to hear stories from the Fusion world that are out there, just like, here at CCW, we're interested in free switch and Fusion stories. So thank you very much for joining us. And I hope we get to see you again before too long, wherever that may be.
Yep. Thanks a lot. See you at next ClueCon, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, that would be great. All right. All the best. Thank you very much, Aryn.
See you later.